Basically what happened was, we'd done the first session, we put down 4 tracks. Best mate moves, yo, P.S. I love you, love me do, ask me why. And it all went fine. George Martin basically turned around and said, I'll bring you back in a couple of weeks, put the finishing touches to them, let me decide which ones to take. So it got to around about middle of August, August 14th, 15th, and I was called into Brian Epstein's office. And he turned around and said, when I went there, I could turn around and see that it wasn't the normal, cool, calm, placid, very sedate Brian Epstein, very agitated. And he talked around the subject for a while, and then he basically turned around and he said, Pete, he said, I've got bad news for you. He said, there's no other way I can put it. He said, the boys want you out. And I suppose the key word was, it's already been arranged that Ringo would join the band on Saturday. To which I basically turned around and said, fine. My brain was absolutely scrambled because I've been with him for 2 years, got the recording contracts, didn't know what that led up to this. I basically turned around and said, fine. On the way home, the truth, I suppose reality hit me, so by the time I'd actually got back home and went through the front door, I told my mother Mona, and a good friend of mine, Neil Aspinall, who'd basically driven me down to that particular meeting, and I broke down in tears. The emotion was too much. There was nothing we could do. Brian wouldn't reply to the telephone. My mother tried constantly to get in touch with him. The other boys, John, George and Paul, just made themselves not available. So the only thing that we were left to do was to get in touch with George Martin. And we did eventually, and we turned around and said to George, what was the reason for Pete's dismissal? So he said, what do you mean, Pete's dismissal? So he said, well, he's been kicked out of the band. He said, oh my God. He said, basically what I had said, because Pete's drum sound was so big, we need to work on that to actually get it on the record, right? Because in those days, you're not talking about the equipment now. Recording was fairly primitive back in, talking about 62. And he said, we work on that. He said, but in the meantime, he said, we'll use a session drummer. He said, we do it a lot of the time with the bands. He said, what happens in the studio has nothing to do with what happens on stage. And that is what I had implied to Brian Epstein. He said, how it's been taken to another level. He said, I don't know. He said, but I do apologise. So lo and behold, when they landed up, a couple of weeks later, in October, Ringo was introduced as the new band. And the recording team that were there turned around and said, where's Pete? And they were told that Pete had left the band, right, and that Ringo was the replacement. So that was it. We found out that it had been taken out of context. It's still, even 60 odd years afterwards, it's still very murky, as regards what the actual dismissal was.